what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy 𝗵𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗃, aka Hackshell, and today we are going to be talking about the AdGuard Home, which is similar towards the Raspberry Pi, except for this has a couple extra features, such as the DNS over HTTPS or TLS, which it natively encrypts your traffic. So what AdGuard does, blocks ads everywhere, cares about your privacy, and has family mode for protection, so it blocks out, all those naughty sites and any other stuff that you have in mind. And you don't need any apps, but what you do need is a Linux box to install the AdGuard. So I'm going to be using my Raspberry Pi. I just uninstalled the Pi-hole. I've done a video about Pi-hole, so if you guys want to check out that video, links will be in the description. The difference between the AdGuard and Pi-hole is this right here. So they both block ads. You can customize a blocking list, built-in DHCP server. It has an admin interface, but it doesn't carry on the DNS over HTTPS or even TLS. You need to have more like a third party. Cross-platform, so if you were to install a second DNS server, which I'm going to do when I get me another Pi, it can be cross-platform, so you can use that as for like a redundancy type thing. So if one Raspberry Pi is getting a whole lot of loads of DNS requests and your network's acting a little bit slow, then that's where you want to install a second Raspberry Pi or a second Linux server. So let's go ahead and get this installed. These are all the services or operating systems that you can run this service on. And again, we're running Raspberry Pi. And what we want to do is scroll all the way up, and it says installation, but we're going to scroll down. So we need to get the software. So where is it? That is the question. Oh no, I clicked on, right here, Raspberry Pi. Okay. So this is particularly for me. If you want to do Raspberry Pi, awesome. It's similarly the same steps. Okay, we're already in our home. This is what we need to download with the wget. And let me bring over my command prompt that I'm already SSH in. All right, cool. Then it's going to extract itself, this command. Then I'm pretty sure we got a CD into the AdGuard home. All right, now we're in that directory, and now we want to install it. Okay, so now it's we need to go towards, if you're running this locally, then you want to type in this address, or that we're outside of the network, that we're on the LAN settings, we're going to go ahead and type this in. But what we want to do is every time that we boot the Raspberry Pi, it will always start up. So that's one thing that I really need to let you know about that, because I learned about it the hard way. Where's the other command at? Okay. So we want to make sure we install it as a service, so every time that we reboot the Raspberry Pi, oops, that's not what I wanted. So every time we boot up Raspberry Pi, it starts it up with the service. Failed to install home as it already exists install. Okay, so hopefully it already started up as a service. Let's go ahead and reboot our Raspberry Pi. All right, now that we're booted back into our Raspberry Pi, we want to enter in our web browser here and type in 192.168.1.2 or whatever your IP address is for that Raspberry Pi, and followed by the port number, which is 3000, and it'll take us to this web page. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to leave everything up by default settings because I only have one interface. Then I believe that the DNS will use our local interface. But just leave everything at default settings. If it pops up within red text here saying that the port number is already in use, maybe you already have Apache installed, and same thing with here if it has red text installed, maybe that there's something interfering with this installation. All you got to do is click the button that says fix, and then it'll fix your issue. Let's go ahead and hit next. It's going to ask for us to put a username and password. I'm just going to put in a username, password. I'm going to change it later on into the video. So it's saying here to have full effect. What we need to do is modify our router. We can also do that into the Windows version here by going to the control panel, which I'll just go ahead and show it for an example. Um, let's open up our network and interface, uh, adapter options. Then we're going to go right click, hit property, and we're going to disable IPv6, or you can leave that enabled. It depends of how your system's set up. If your Raspberry Pi can fork out an IPv6, awesome. If not, just go ahead and disable that. But what we're going to do is go to IPv4, double click on that, go to the DNS settings, and then what you want to type in 192.168.1.2. Again, this is your Raspberry Pi IP address. And now you click OK. Everything is going to be all looped back towards the gateway because we're about to configure that as well. So let me go ahead and pop that on over. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm in my router, and what I want to do is change the preferred DNS to 192.168.1.2, and then we're going to leave the secondary DNS just blank. Now, if you're running a Linux, or excuse me, a Linksys or TP-Link Netgear, it's basically the same thing. Just go towards your DNS and secondary DNS. If for whatever reason you mess that up, be sure to remember what the previous DNS was selected on, or select get automatic DNS so you don't mess up your configuration. I'm gonna hit save for myself, then I'm gonna go ahead and hit apply. And so now everything that's connected towards my router will already have this installed. So it'll be looping towards anything that it will look up a DNS query, will go through the Raspberry Pi out to the internet and brings that back. Now we want to open up our dashboard here. Oops. All right, awesome. Let me do a quick Google. Make sure I'm able to get the internet. Let me go to Facebook. See if I'm able to get the internet. Okay, everything's working fine. Awesome. So if we hit the refresh button, you can see that when I visit some websites, it should have popped up. Facebook. I have a tab open up here on Mixer. So it's looking up queries now. So what we want to do next is go towards our settings and our DNS settings, because this is where we want to change our DNS. I do not want to use Quad 9. You can if you guys want to. I prefer Cloudflare. It's all preference, but as for me, Cloudflare doesn't leave any logs. They delete logs after 24 hours, so I prefer to use Cloudflare. Let me grab the where is it? List of known DNSs. That's what I was looking for. So we want to use Cloudflare. You can use any other DNS list here if you want to, but again, Cloudflare. And we want to use the we want to have a DNS over HTTPS, IPv4, and IPv6. It's the same address. Bring that over here. Replace that. Put that here. And then we want to get rid of all of this stuff and copy and paste basically everything that we see. So how was the format? So IP address here, then hit enter, so it's in a new line. Let's go ahead and move that over towards the right so I can see what I'm copying and pasting. Oop. I think I messed it up. No, because if there it is. No, I am dumb. There you are. As soon as we take it out of full screen mode, we have to scroll down a bit. Okay, that's why. All right, so 1.1.1.2, which the reason why I choose 1.1.1.2, it's still part of the Cloudflare's network, but it blocks malware. If you want to block out pornography, you can have 1.1.1.3 and change the address to that. But next thing. Uh, Then we want IPv6 as well. Copy that address. Change that to 2. And change that to 2. We're going to hit apply. And now we're going to test our upstream, so making sure that everything is A-OK. All right. Specified DNS servers are working correctly. Awesome. So, save config. There's another setting that we want to change here. So now that we got our DNS settings installed, our next step is optional, and the step after that is actually required. So I will leave a timestamp if you want to skip over the encryption, and what we want to do is add some filters with the DNS blocks so we can start blocking out more ads or even phishing, malware sites, etc. So yeah, check for the timestamp on the screen if you want to skip over this. This part is optional. Um, so what we want to do is enable our encryption with the DNS over HTTPS and DNS over TLS, because you need to go towards a registrar like a GoDaddy.com or Network Solutions and register yourself a domain name, which will cost you anywhere between 10 and 20 bucks. So we're going to be using incominglogs.com. This is my website, so make sure you use your own. And we're going to set ourselves up with some certificates. So let's go towards the website here of the GitHub. Here on the top right, it'll say AdGuard home as a DNS over HTTPS and DNS over TLS. And you're going to scroll down, it'll say register a domain name, then set a SSL certificate, which we're going to keep scrolling down. This is what we need to worry about, is the cert bot. So you're going to go towards this website, and we're going to scroll all the way up, and it says my HTTP website is running. Select none of the above, then select your operating system, which I'm running on Ubuntu. I'm going to scroll down, and you're going to run these commands. Then after you run that command, run this command. Then stop at step number 3. Come back over on encryption. Then the encryption page. Then run this command. And we're going to go ahead and run that command. And it's going to ask us what is our domain name. It's going to ask us what is our email address, to agree to some terms of service and whatnot. So it's asking for the domain name. That's going to generate. It's going to say this machine will be publicly logged as having requested the certificate. That's fine. Then we want to get our we want to add this towards our DNS TXT record. So what we want to do is go towards wherever you're hosting your domain name. You want to add a record. So you click on type A from TXT when we scroll down. Then we're going to add a subdomain name, if you will, the underscore acne dash challenge, and we don't have to following the dot and the incominglogs.com. Just going to go ahead and paste that right there. And the context is going to be the gibberish, that's the string, starting from H to 0 or to O. Then we're going to hit save. It's going to be DNS only. We're going to hit enter. Then it's going to verify that we actually own the domain name. All right, so now that our certificates have been saved, as you can see, the /etc slash let's encrypt slash live slash incoming logs.com slash full chain.pem. We're going to go ahead and copy down that pathway, and we're going to put it in towards our certificate path, and it says it's been validated. Then we're going to do the same thing with our private key, and go ahead and save settings. And now that is it. We have encrypted with a DNS over HTTPS and DNS over TLS. Now it's going to redirect it towards HTTPS. So it was HTTP, then the Raspberry Pi's IP address. Now it's HTTPS // and the IP address. So if you ever get confused, always use HTTPS from now on out. Now let's go ahead and talk about the block list of what we got to do, how to add the block list. So as you can see, the AdGuard, AdAway, and the malware domain name list, once we click on them, it shows you the list of what all the domain names are. And all we got to do is check mark them, and it will enable this list to be blocked out. And since we're on a Raspberry Pi, it takes a little bit longer to load because there's a whole bunch of domain names. It could be one domain name up to 90,000 because it's collecting all those domain names. But for my case example, I'm having problems with my Raspberry Pi to connect out towards the GitHub for whatever reason. But for you, you should be fine to actually get all these domain names. It says like rules count and it's 0. Um, but it will show like as for the rules count, it will show the counted domain names of how many they are. So I asked on Reddit what are some good lists of some websites, and I'll link that down in the description. Some users gave me a couple links, which I asked what are some good lists for blocking malware and phishing sites, and a couple users actually replied. There's the //Firebog, which is over here. So in the green, it's a suspicious list. You can also block out everything in blue. Advertising list, tracking and telemetry list, a malicious list, other list, and that seems to be it for that. So what I want to do is just block out suspicious list and advertising list and everything that's in green text. So I can just protect myself that much further. So once you find yourself that list, you're going to click on Add Block List, add the URL, and give it a name. So I'm just going to do Firebog sus 1. Then it's going to add that and all of its domain names that it has listed. So it was the very first one. So how many domain names is that? Quite a few. So we're just couldn't fetch the filter, blah, blah, blah. Why? Let's try that again. Did I enter it in wrong? Make sure that there's no spaces in between. Okay, we'll go towards the next block list. We'll just use this third link here. Make sure that there's no spaces. Okay, we're good. Okay, awesome. So it added in that list. So again, go through each and every list. If you want to block out advertising, awesome. Block all advertising. If you want to block out tracking and telemetry, awesome. Malicious list, you got it. I'll add some more blocking lists down in the links in the description below. And make sure that you guys click on check for updates every day or every week, like once a week, so it updates all the domain names because it says rule count. Let's go ahead and click check for update because it needs to start pulling the domain names from AdGuard simplified domains and add away. And I also need to check mark the malware domain list.com. All right, so now it blocked out or it updated. It should have added some more rules to it, maybe because it needs to be in the format to take away all this and just to be a raw domain name. One thing that we need to do is add our so I have a regular expression that I've added, and what this does is it will scan the URL and or the HTML code, and it looks for advertisements, telemetry. It looks for this keywords within this within these wildcards, if you will. And if it shows like, oh hey, this says advertising within the string of code or in the HTML, or yeah, within the HTML, the code and or the URL, it's going to block that out, such as with the analytics banners, beacons, and so on and so forth. Um, so what you want to do is you want to add this, copy and paste it, and add this to the ad block list. And since it's on GitHub, for some reason it's giving me a problem. And what I actually did, um, okay, so it says that's already been in place, but how's that? Oh, wrong one, wrong one. So it's going to give us a little red error code, and it's giving us a 403. So what I did was I just added this into a TXT file, and I just mounted it or give it that pathway. Yeah, see, it gave us this error. Did I say 403? I meant 400, but whatever. Because it's not getting the URL here. Holy cow! For whatever reason. So what I did was I just put that into a TXT format in our local in our root directory, and it was able to get that. So if you go towards like a Yahoo News, and it should start blocking out ads, which it kind of did. Some ads will display, some will not. Ultimately, we're trying to get rid of all ads in general. But yeah, so just want to throw that out there. I will throw links in the description down below, the description. So hopefully that this video will help you out. I know it's a little bit lengthy. I had to stop and start all over. Yeah, it made me want to bash my head into a controller or a keyboard. I meant a keyboard. So if this video was helpful, give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the video. And before I even end on there, I just want to talk about block services. You can also block out Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, etc. if you want to block out these sites, so no one on the network will use them. All right, I almost forgot to cover that. So I hope that this video was informative. Like, share, subscribe. Hit me with a post notifications, and see you guys in the next video. You all take care. Check out private internet access today. It's going to act as your digital condom, because when you're sticking your things in places where they don't belong, you're going to be fucking yourself over. Now, when you visit no-no sites, like when you're looking at stuff that you're not supposed to, or you're downloading things illegally, there is no logs that is kept by PIA. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court is like, hey, we need you to log all your users, and we need to see if they're up to no good. And PIA is like, yo, government, we don't have logs. That's part of our policy, bro. So that gives you a extra confidence that you can download things illegally. Not I'm saying you should, but I'm just saying they don't keep logs, man. Now, if you can't afford for $10, give or take a month, then don't fucking click skip ad on my videos because I need that moolah. Buy PIA today. Thank you.
Thank you for sticking around. Please feel free to watch my other videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow my social media. If you're feeling generous, check out my Patreon or send in a donation of any amount with PayPal. It really helps out with post-production, equipment, food in my belly, and also continue making free content for you guys. Links in the description. Y'all take care, and thank you once again.